It was right here where A.T. Perry caught a dime from Sam Hartman, and Wake Forest walks out of here 6-0 for the first time since 1944. And today, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame with a sea of pinstripe jerseys, all wearing the same number 2 on the back. I mean, we saw all the alumni, all the Cuse fans wearing 44 on their backs, taking selfies, even praying next to the Ernie Davis statue in front of the Carrier Dome. Now, in order for the Syracuse University men's soccer team to make a run at the ACC tournament, they're going to have to juggle a lot of competition.
Our James Kattato is live on campus to tell us how this season opener was a little more special than the rest.
Yeah, Noah, it wouldn't be a November in Syracuse if the weather wasn't wildly mediocre and cold. But the play in the Carrier Dome last night was red hot and anything but mediocre. We know Jim Boeheim and company lost a lot of players from that Sweet 16 run last year. But looking at last night, there was a lot of promise and a lot of good things to work on.
Your Citrus TV Sports Report.
Syracuse women's basketball, maybe we should call them the mayors of Upset City. Hi everyone, I'm James Kattato. It was adversity personified for the Orange as they battled back for a big win against 18th ranked Ohio State via a second half flurry. After the Buckeyes started out the game up 15-3, the Orange battled back and only went into the locker room down 3 at the half. But when they came back out, that's when everything started to change. The Orange scored 29 third quarter points, and it was enough to hold on. 3 players had over 20 points in the Orange's biggest win of the season. Head coach Von Reed says they could have given up at any point during this game, but they didn't.
When they jumped out on us.
The Orange moved to 4-4 on the year. They'll take on Central Connecticut State in the Dome this Sunday at 2. And everyone's still talking about the signature win the men's basketball team had over 6-0 Indiana on Tuesday, and with good reason. The Orange knocked off the Hoosiers by 2 in double overtime. Now they're riding high into their next game. The Orange will head down to Tallahassee to take on 5-2 Florida State in their first conference game of the season. The biggest stories for the Orange heading into this one, the Boeheim brothers, as they combined for 53 points against Indiana, and they're starting to look like a legitimate dynamic duo. Only makes sense, they did grow up together. But that Seminole defense is going to prove tough. 2 of their guards are in the top 15 in the ACC for steals, so the ball handling, which has been a bit of a problem for Syracuse this year, will have to be sharp. Tip-off is this Saturday at 4. And if you're talking about Syracuse basketball, you can't go without mentioning Christian Brothers Academy football. Interesting, I know, stay with me. Syracuse point guard Symir Torrance, right? His brother Syer is the star sophomore wide receiver for the brothers, and they're playing in the New York State High School Class A state final. Torrance has over 600 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns this season. Again, he's a sophomore. He's led the brothers to a section and region title. Torrance and company take on Westchester County's own Somers High School this Friday at 3 p.m. in the Carrier Dome. So you could say they have a little bit of a home field advantage when it matters most. And after some COVID protocol scares, the Syracuse Crunch will have to shuffle their schedule around and play some makeups. This coming after 5 teams in the AHL hit the protocol, including the Rochester Americans, who were slated to come to Cuse and play the Crunch last night. That game doesn't have a makeup date as of yet, but we do know that the Crunch will go to Bridgeport to play the Islanders on March 19th, 2022, instead of the 18th. And on that 18th, they'll play the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, so a little bit of a switcheroo. As for the next game, it'll be against the Penguins at home tomorrow night, puck drop at 7. Guys? Brooklyn Malioni was about as young as you could get when he picked up his first baseball.
I think 3.
He goes by the nickname B-Money, and between the money socks, helmet, or the money chain, he brings his own flair to the game he's played his whole life. But it wasn't always like that.
Any of his sports practices, if he did, he was giving 0%. It was just kind of going through the motions. I would describe it as he was on autopilot.
Off the field, Brooklyn was bullied, and 3 years ago, the 11-year-old and his mom received some news from the doctor that would shake up their family's life.
He was diagnosed with anxiety and PTSD.
Some days I couldn't even get out of bed. Some days I couldn't even eat.
Watching your child struggling with that and not being able to flick a switch and make it better is probably the hardest, most discouraging thing you could ever watch as a mom.
On Brooklyn's 11th birthday, he blew out the candles and made one wish: to be a normal kid again. Because kids don't normally have to go through PTSD and anxiety when they're that young. But it was right here on his birthday night at Murnane Field, in front of this very dugout, where it all started to change.
B-Money, who is turning 11 today. Yeah, B-Money! Happy birthday, B-Money!
And then everyone just waited at the end of the game to say happy birthday. They all gave him an autographed ball. Ryan Anos came out and gave him an autographed baseball bat that he broke that day, and it said happy birthday.
After that day, B-Money was with the players for every game, from their highs and even lows. John Franchi runs the Utica Blue Sox Academy and saw how much those interactions meant to Brooklyn.
Something simple, something small, just as taking the field and playing catch with them. It made the kid feel 10 feet tall. And here's this kid who's constantly being bullied and constantly being picked on to being the face of the show.
It changed my life completely. In 5 seconds, I walked into the dugout, and the Blue Sox taught me how to be myself and not to care about what other people think.
As B continues to get older, his outlook at how he'll use these experiences for the rest of his life is right on the money.
I'm going to treat everyone how I'm supposed to treat people, and even if they're mean to me, I'm going to still show them respect. And I mean, that's what the Blue Sox taught me.
Reporting, James Kattato.
Life is great.
NCC News.